Do you think just one piece of seemingly healthy fruit could make you forget your child's name this very afternoon? Fruit itself isn't poisonous, nor is it a forbidden substance. It's just that at our age, everything we eat can make a difference for a day of clarity or a day that is foggy, dazed, and frustrating. I used to think, all fruit is good. What's the worry? Until a doctor looked me straight in the eye and said, "Ma'am, with your memory slowly weakening, there are some fruits you should stay away from." Sounds strange, but it's true. Not everyone knows that a glass of packaged juice can contain up to 30 grams of sugar, or that an overripe banana can make you feel sluggish and lethargic for the entire morning. The young can eat wrong and just bounce back, but after 60, every wrong choice, however small, adds up on your health, on your memory, and on the years you have left to be yourself. Have you ever felt tired, forgetful, unable to concentrate without knowing why? Perhaps the culprit lies right on that plate of afternoon fruit you thought was healthy. In this video, I'll share 7 types of fruit that seem good for your health, but that older people showing signs of memory loss should absolutely avoid. Not to scare you, but so that you eat right, think clearly, remember longer. Let's get started. The first fruit is raisins. A seemingly harmless handful of raisins can make your blood sugar spike in silence. I used to enjoy nibbling raisins after my evening meal. They're neat, mildly sweet, easy to chew, and I'd heard they were good for digestion. Every time my grandchild visited, I would also add a few to oatmeal and cookies. But one time, after eating about a dozen, I felt a little dizzy. My heart raced, and by evening I was groggy. My words got a little jumbled. After a checkup, the doctor asked, "Have you eaten anything sweet recently?" I mentioned the raisins. He nodded. "That's it. Just a small amount is enough to cause a sudden blood sugar spike, especially in older adults." Indeed, raisins are a type of dried fruit with a very high natural sugar density, even without added sugar. According to nutritional analysis from the USDA, a small handful of raisins, about a quarter cup, contains 25 to 30 grams of sugar. For people over 60, a rapid blood sugar spike can reduce blood flow to the brain, causing fatigue, mild confusion, and even temporary cognitive impairment. I know a lady named Margaret. She loved eating raisins because they're soft, no need to chew much. But her daughter noticed that after eating a lot, she would forget what she was doing or ask the same question repeatedly in one afternoon. After monitoring, they discovered her blood sugar was fluctuating wildly after every meal with raisins. The issue isn't with the grape, but in how raisins affect older adults with a weakened metabolism and nervous system. Every time blood sugar spikes, then crashes, it's a small shock to the brain. Repeated many times, memory will gradually decline without you even noticing. The solution is simple enough. If you love the flavor of grapes, choose fresh grapes, eat a small amount, and combine with fiber-rich foods like chia seeds or whole grain oatmeal. Avoid eating them on an empty stomach and absolutely do not use them as a daily snack. Think of everything you eat as a message for your memory tomorrow. A sweet food, if uncontrolled, can steal away your clarity little by little. And after 60, keeping a clear mind is the greatest gift you can give yourself. The second type of fruit, very ripe bananas. Think a banana each morning is good. It might just cause you to start nodding off while lighting the stove. I had a habit of eating a banana every morning. Soft, sweet, easy to digest, and supposedly good for the heart. But lately I noticed something strange. After eating, my body felt sluggish. My eyelids would droop, and my mind felt as if a thin fog had settled over it. Some days I had to lie down right after eating, unable to exercise at all. When I went for a nutrition checkup, the doctor asked, "You eat very ripe bananas, don't you?" I was surprised. "Yes, that's right. I wait for them to get spotty for the sweetness." He smiled. "That is precisely why you feel so drowsy. The riper a banana gets, the higher its simple sugar content. Along with that, its tryptophan content, an amino acid that helps create serotonin and melatonin, also increases. For the young, this might help them relax. But for the elderly, especially those with signs of memory decline, this drowsiness becomes a problem." Why? Because when you are trying to maintain a sharp mind, eating foods that induce sleepiness during the day can dull your focus, slow your reflexes, and weaken your memory. And if that happens often, as your mind will gradually lose the sharpness you are trying to hold on to. I have a friend named Evelyn. She used to eat 2 very ripe bananas every morning because they were easy to digest. But then she started dozing off during gatherings or forgetting things she just planned to do. After cutting back on bananas and switching to sliced green apples, she said, "Now I feel so much more alert." In truth, bananas aren't bad, but for people after 60, controlling the ripeness and portion size is critical. A just ripe banana, evenly yellow without brown spots, is a better choice. Eating it in the morning with a little protein, like walnuts or unsweetened yogurt, will help balance blood sugar and prevent that sleepy feeling. At our age, we don't eat to get full fast or for the best taste anymore. We eat to keep our minds sharp, so every morning is still a chance to live with clarity and focus. And sometimes, just by holding back a little, not letting the banana get too ripe, you are helping your memory stay sharp for one more day. The next type is packaged fruit juice. Not every glass of orange juice is as good for the brain as you might think. For a while, I used to drink a glass of fruit juice every morning. Convenient, fragrant, and it made me feel healthier. The label said 100% juice, so I trusted it completely. But then one day after drinking it, I felt tired. My mind was fuzzy. One day I was cooking and forgot to turn on the stove. That's when I started to ask questions. I brought the juice carton for my son to see. He read the ingredients carefully and said, "Mom, did you know this says from concentrate, which means it's concentrated juice. And down here it also lists 24 grams of sugar in one glass." I was stunned. Many types of packaged fruit juice, even when labeled an all-natural or no added sugar, still contain very high amounts of natural sugar, sometimes even more than soda. And that is extremely dangerous for older adults, especially those showing signs of memory decline. According to the American Heart Association, AHA, consuming simple sugars quickly, like from concentrated juice, causes a sudden insulin and glucose spike, which leads to inflammation and negatively impacts brain function. For the elderly, these sugar shocks lead to mental fatigue, reduced concentration, and can contribute to accelerating brain degeneration. I remember a friend named George. He drank a glass of bottled grape juice every morning. After some time, he often forgot where he put his glasses, would walk into the kitchen and stand there silently, not remembering what he needed. When advised to stop processed juice and switch to water with fresh fruit, he said, "My head feels so much lighter now." If you're thinking that drinking juice is quick nutrition, think again. An older person's brain needs slow, stable energy, not these sudden rushes followed by a crash. The solution: choose fresh fruit, eat the whole piece instead of juicing it. If you must drink it, make it yourself. No added sugar, no preservatives. And best of all, drink it with a meal to limit a sudden blood sugar spike. Your memory doesn't need promises printed on a carton. It needs the gentle, steady, and truly natural substance from the simplest of things. The words 100% natural on a carton won't keep your mind sharp, but a fresh orange slice just might. The fourth type of fruit is watermelon. I nearly collapsed in the kitchen, not from the sun, not from fatigue, but because of a slice of watermelon. I still remember summer afternoons, my husband and I would sit on the porch, cut a few slices of watermelon, and eat them to cool down. This fruit is mildly sweet, juicy, and everyone said it was good for older people. Yet one day, less than half an hour after eating, I suddenly felt lightheaded, my vision blurred, and I was stumbling around as if from sunstroke. When I measured my blood pressure, it was only 90/60, much lower than my usual level. At that time, the doctor just gently asked, "What did you eat this afternoon?" And I said, "Just a few slices of watermelon." The truth is, watermelon contains a large amount of L-citrulline, a compound that helps dilate blood vessels and naturally lower blood pressure. For young people or those with high blood pressure, this is a benefit. But for the elderly, especially those with average or slightly low blood pressure, watermelon can cause blood pressure to drop too quickly, leading to dizziness, lightheadedness, and a decline in concentration. The brain, already slowing with age, when it doesn't get enough blood, can react with grogginess, confusion, or even by temporarily freezing up. Some people even fall without understanding why. I have a friend named Joan. She loved eating watermelon in the evening, but then her family noticed she often forgot where things were or would repeat her sentences. When consulted, the doctor advised, avoid watermelon late in the day, especially if your blood pressure tends to be low. Watermelon is not a bad fruit, but after age 60, we can no longer eat out of habit. We must eat for our body's needs. What is good for one person can sometimes be a danger to another. If you love watermelon, you can still eat it, but only a small amount after a main meal and not on an empty stomach. If you have a history of low blood pressure, monitor your body's reaction after eating, or ask your doctor before making this fruit a regular part of your diet. For older adults, keeping blood pressure stable is also a way to keep memory from being disrupted by each abnormal up and down. And with just a small adjustment, you can enjoy summer's sweet taste and still maintain your clarity each day. We now come to the fifth type, dried fruit. A bag of dried fruit seems convenient, but could leave you stuck all week. I used to love keeping a small box of dried fruit by my bedside. Prunes, dried apples, sometimes a few pieces of chewy pineapple. Easy to nibble on, no worry of spoiling, and I heard people say dried fruit helps with bowel movements. Yet after some time, my stomach felt heavy, and it was hard to go. Some days I sat for nearly half an hour with no success. Even my mind felt foggy as a result. I went to the doctor. He asked me directly, "Do you eat dried fruit regularly?" I nodded. He shook his head. "That's exactly why you're constipated." Dried fruit, although it retains some vitamins, loses almost all of its natural water. When eaten without drinking enough water, the body has to pull water from elsewhere to digest it, especially from the large intestine. The result? Stool becomes dry, difficult to pass, causing constipation. And the elderly, with a digestive system slower than a young person's, are even more easily affected. Few people realize that constipation not only causes discomfort, but also increases toxins in the body, reduces nutrient absorption, and especially affects memory. Recent studies show when your system isn't regular, the gut-brain connection suffers, causing fatigue, poor concentration, and even long-term cognitive decline. I have a friend, Helen, who often carried a bag of raisins and dried apricots when she went for walks. She said, for easy digestion. But then she frequently suffered from prolonged constipation, felt lethargic, and often mixed up the time. When advised to stop using dried fruit, she was surprised. My mind is affected just by a few dried pieces. But after a month of switching to fresh fruit and drinking more warm water, she felt alert and regular again. Fruit, if used correctly, is a gift. But used incorrectly, especially when dry, it becomes a burden on both your gut and your brain. So if you are choosing dried fruit for convenience, please consider, are you drinking enough water? Eating it with fiber. And perhaps it is best to replace it with a few fresh apple slices or a piece of ripe papaya. Your memory doesn't need a trendy food. It needs a smooth-running, happy gut every day. Because clarity begins where we least expect it, right in our belly. And next is the sixth type, imported fruit with high pesticide residue. The prettier the fruit, Dad, the more it can silently poison your memory. I used to love American apples, Australian grapes, shiny, fragrant, and they lasted a long time without spoiling. Every time I went to the supermarket, I often chose imported types for peace of mind. But then, for a period, I often found my mind foggy, felt all slightly nauseous and dizzy after eating. I thought it was just old age, until I read an article about pesticide residue. Many types of imported fruit and especially those preserved for long periods, use anti-mold preservatives, pesticide residue, and a wax coating to keep them fresh longer. For the elderly whose liver and kidneys work more slowly, the ability to eliminate toxins decreases, and these substances gradually accumulate, affecting the central nervous system and memory. According to the Environmental Working Group, EWG, a nonprofit organization in the U.S. that monitors clean food, imported fruits like grapes, apples, strawberries, and blueberries are often on the dirty dozen list, the 12 types of fruit with the highest pesticide residue. I remember a gentleman named Robert, who lived in a nursing home I once visited. He loved eating imported strawberries, having a bowl every morning. After a few months, he started becoming forgetful, mixing up the names of his grandson and his caregiver. Later, doctors discovered the level of neurotoxins in his blood was higher than permissible. In truth, imported fruit isn't bam, but if they're not soaked and washed thoroughly, or if their origin is unclear, then that very convenience is what could be slowly weakening your memory over the years. You can prevent this easily. Choose local, seasonal fruit. If you like imported, I'd soak them in diluted salt water and wash under a strong tap for at least 30 seconds. If possible, peel the skin and limit daily consumption. You should alternate with fresh fruit from a farmer's market or a reputable supermarket. In our later years, clarity isn't just mental. It's about everything we put into our bodies. Because sometimes a thin layer of wax on the outside can make your brain foggier day by day. Choosing your apple carefully today helps preserve a piece of your clarity for tomorrow. Finally, that is grapefruit. A grapefruit segment in the morning could render the medicine you take useless. I used to love eating grapefruit after breakfast. The slightly sour taste, cool and refreshing, was pleasant. While watching TV or reading a book, I'd often peel a few segments to have beside me. But then, for a while, I noticed I was often in a daze, forgetting simple things. One day, I took my medicine then, forgot that I had taken it. On other days, I felt my medicine just wasn't working like before. When I told this to my doctor, he asked, "Do you eat grapefruit?" I was surprised. "Yes, I do, every morning." He sighed. "That explains it then." Very few people know that grapefruit, especially grapefruit juice, can change how the liver processes many types of medication, including drugs for cardiovascular conditions, blood pressure, arrhythmia, anxiety, and even drugs that affect memory. According to the US FDA, grapefruit contains a group of compounds called furanocoumarins. They inhibit the CYP3A4 enzyme in the liver. As a result, the medication isn't metabolized properly, or its levels can become toxic in the blood. This causes the drug's effect to be skewed, leading to neurological instability, memory disorders, or even acute confusion. I remember Nancy, she was in my book club. One day she sat there bewildered, reading the same page of a story 3 times without understanding it. When asked, she said she was taking a mild sleeping pill. It was only later we learned she still ate grapefruit regularly every morning. And that was what made the drug ineffective, causing adverse side effects. What's worth noting is, grapefruit doesn't make you feel tired right away. It silently interferes with how your medicine works. And by the time you notice your mind is foggy, it's already too late. The solution is simple. If you're taking any prescription medication, ask your doctor or pharmacist if grapefruit is off limits for you. If needed, replace it with oranges, mandarins, or pineapples, types that do not affect the liver enzymes that process drugs. At our age, ensuring our medication works correctly is another way of protecting our memory. Every careful action today is another day you live alert, lucid, and at peace, and sometimes saying no to grapefruit is protecting your entire brain. In the end, not all fruit is a friend to your memory. A sweet bite can bring a moment of joy, but if it leaves you feeling foggy all afternoon, is it really worth it? After 60, what's important isn't eating more or less, but eating with intention, so every single thing you consume is an act of care for your brain, your heart, your sleep, and for yourself. You don't have to cut out everything. You just need to know what to avoid and what to keep. Because clarity doesn't come from a pill. It comes from the small choices we make day after day. You can start with the simplest things. Read the label before you buy juice. Don't grab dried fruit just because it's convenient. And don't be afraid to skip those harmless, sweet treats if you notice your mind feeling slower afterwards. If this video gave you some food for thought, maybe share it with a friend, because sometimes Just one small reminder is enough to help someone hold on to their memories for a few more years. Thank you for taking the time to listen and for taking care of yourself. Until next time, here's to slow afternoons where you still remember exactly who you are and know you deserve genuine health.